Name of the podcast is Dream Plan Execute, where I highlight individuals who dream frictionless, plan thoroughly, execute relentlessly, and Julian, you're definitely one of those persons.
Growing up, a lot of our family was in construction, but I wasn't that interested in it. My dad, he would bring us to job sites. He would put us to work, hoping that we would do it eventually. Once I graduated high school, I started working at my family's business. They had a position in estimating as a plan clerk that they offered me. That's kind of how my career started. After 4 years, I got tired of it, and they eventually fired me. And I was trying to figure out, like, do I want to do this construction thing? Like, is this what I want? It was kind of a wake-up call. Looking back on it, leaving was the best decision I made. So I was an APM. First job I was on was Riverdale Athletic Center and Natatorium Aquatic Center on their campus in the Bronx. When I got through the 2 years, I kind of looked at my career and I said, I don't have a lot of projects on my, they're just big jobs that span a year or two. I kind of want to get into something more fast-paced to build up my resume. I ended up going back to Sean. They left the door open for me. I got assigned to Barclays Center. So they assigned me to it. I was like, this is like exactly what I wanted coming back to Sean, something like this. Project started getting bigger. We did some work at their HQ in Brooklyn. And then we did this job called the Crown Club, which was probably one of my favorite projects I've ever done. Not a lot of planning up front, very fast paced. I had about 22 weeks to build it. At that point in my career, I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. This is going to be tough. The job was a success. We got to the end of the job. And at that time, I was having my second kid. So I went back to the job the next day. My client's there, and he's going, do you really care about this job? I said, I'm not done until the job's done. The client was ecstatic. We saved money. We returned money at the end of it. Working on delivering a good product and making the client happy to get you to where you need to go. Because if you keep doing that and you build your reputation, you can parlay that into the next chapter.
Julian, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast. Name of the podcast is Dream Plan Execute, where I highlight individuals who dream frictionless, plan thoroughly, execute relentlessly, and Julian, you're definitely one of those persons. Now, I wanted to get into the process of how you've gotten to this trajectory because you've worked on some really great projects in construction management, Barclays Center, etc. But prior to your input in construction, you must have had some interest in high school or even before that. So, what was your initial interest, and what got you into construction?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, I wasn't that focused on construction. My dad had a business in construction as a general contractor. My uncle had his own business, so a lot of our family was in construction, but I wasn't that interested in it. My dad, he would bring us to job sites. He would put us to work. He'd have us doing like laboring and cleaning up and things like that. And he made it a priority to expose us to construction, hoping that we would do it eventually. But yeah, I think that's kind of how I got into it. And once I graduated high school, I started working at my family's business, my uncle's business at the time, and it was supposed to be like a summer gig, like just a summer job. Go stack some paper, hang out in the office, go fill up the coffee machine, whatever it was. And once the summer ended, they had a position in estimating as a plan clerk
Mm.
that they offered me. So it was, go back to the path I was on, which is going to college and doing all that, or staying with the family. And I chose to stay at the company after that summer in estimating, and that's kind of how my career started.
Okay, so in high school, did you see any propensities to things that you like? Was it like math a thing for you, or was there like English? Like, what subject did you find interesting at the time, or was it like you got into construction and then school wasn't the priority at the moment?
School was never, man. I just wanted to get through it. I feel like when I was in high school,
Right.
I enjoyed some parts of high school. I didn't move around a bit in high school, so it was a little tough for me just making friends at new schools and things like that. I moved at least two or three times. Um, but back then, yeah, I mean, I liked history. Nothing really construction based. I think I didn't really have a good plan back then on what I wanted to do. I really didn't. I kind of fell into this whole construction thing.
It's funny because that happens a lot, honestly, and like it gives you like a wide range of experience because you're not like needle-eyed on one thing, and then because you have that gamut of experience, you kind of just end up being able to utilize all this experience you have in this one focused area once you find it. So,
Yeah.
like the Human Man podcast, right, is one of the best podcasts out there. If you hear his background, it's like, yeah, my dad was a doctor, my mom was a doctor. I really wasn't interested in being a doctor. Ended up hanging out with some skaters. I had some friends. They got into some drugs. We got into some trouble, and then he was just like, maybe I like this, like helping my friends thing, like
Mm-hmm.
I had this process of being able to help people, that speaking from Dr. Human, and then he's like, all right, let me see if I get into this doctor thing. And then he's like excellent at it, right? So sometimes in life you find that you have like a country road journey before you get to the point where you're like, this is my thing and this is what I got into. So estimating, right? For you, was it like something you found interesting, or how did you get into project management versus estimating? Because you had a very interesting trajectory to where you are at the moment.
Yeah, estimating. I thought it was going to be my career forever. Like I just thought I would do that forever. And it's a tough job being an estimator. It's tough. You do a lot of the work up front, and you don't always reap the rewards of the work. You have to be a certain type of individual to be an estimator, and I think I, working at the company early in my career, I just liked how it felt to be in the city. I felt important, and having a job and getting a paycheck and all that stuff, like it just felt great, you know. And also just being at a company, it's organized as a staff. It just felt great. I had some folks that I worked with in estimating at the time, different mentors and stuff like that. It was a good experience. I spent about 4 years at my family's business in estimating.
Right.
Eventually went from like plan clerk to junior estimator to estimator. And back then, like being a plan clerk, you're mailing drawings out FedEx like every day,
Right.
right? Like that's how we were doing it back then. We didn't have takeoff software like when I started. It was just starting to come out. Um, but yeah, after estimating, I left the company. I ended up leaving the company after 4 years. My uncle owned the company. Someone else ran the company. He was one of the most psychotic, maniacal persons I've ever worked with in this industry, but very highly respected, very intense.
Hmm.
And it was tough for me working in that environment. After 4 years, I got tired of it, and they fired me. Like I probably at the time, it was almost like quiet quitting. Like I didn't want to be there. It was a family business, so it was kind of like a weird dynamic on how, like
Right.
if they were going to fire. So they fired me, and I think at that point I was unemployed. I took the summer off, and I was trying to figure out like, do I want to do this construction thing? Like, is this what I want?
Right.
Wasn't sure. It was kind of a wake up call. Like, and I also think I was dealing with that nepotism thing too, where it's like, did I earn this? Was it given to me? Like that kind of
Right.
stuff. And I always wanted to earn it. So from there, I was unemployed, and then another family business in construction that does tile and stone hit me up, and they said we need an estimator. So I went to work with them for about 3 years. Kind of hit a ceiling there. Did a bit of project management. It was a small company, so but I got to see everything from that aspect. That was interesting. Chasing work and stuff like that as a sub was an interesting job. And then reached back out to my family, and they were like, "We want you to come back. Come to the project management side." At that point, I was like, "Yeah, I think anything would be better than what I'm doing right now." I think looking back on my career, like those 3 years I spent at the towel company, they were good. I enjoyed them, but probably could have been doing something more to advance my career. So I kind of felt like, might have wasted some time maybe, but went back to the family as an APM about 6 months. Then I got promoted to PM. I was working on pretty small projects at the time. Wasn't really happy again with the situation and how the company was being run and the whole family dynamics of it all. And I just said, you know what, I think I want to leave. And my father was like, go get a job.
Right.
Um, so I did. I went and applied at different places. I applied at Shawmut and some other places. And when I got the offer, I think the family was like, "You're not really going to take the offer. We were serious. We want you to stay." I think the long term plan was for me to run the company. At some point, they were going to retire and then give me the company. And I think leaving maybe hindered that. But uh, looking back on it, leaving was the best decision I made for
Mm.
sure. And that's how I kind of got into project management to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes you got to just follow that gut feeling you have. I mean, a lot of times, there's going to be like logistical things in front of you that make sense to stay. And then you're like, it's time to go. And I felt that too. Like I was at Tishman for some time. I was there for
Yeah.
9.5 years. Now I moved on to Consigli, and I just felt in my spirit it was time. Right? There wasn't any only. I mean, there's obviously friction that causes that. Change in management, change in process, change in things that you can see the writing on the wall in certain things, but ultimately it's like you as a person, do you feel like this is where your career growth is going to happen?
It's
And
a big deal going to another company, right? Because you got to uproot your life and start over, kind of, and
right,
prove yourself again. And you can be comfortable or you can be uncomfortable, right? And
correct, yeah. And like you have that naysaying conversation in your head. It's like, I'm already good here, people know my work, people know my worth here, I can go somewhere else. And like you said, you know you're going to be like expected to produce. And it's like that naysaying in here, can I produce? Can I be that person? Like, I know I am, but like, what's it like over there? But I always think of it like a sports team, and like all these other basketball and football personnel, they're getting paid millions of dollars and they gotta move. Right? They go somewhere else, and it's like, okay, you're good in Seattle, but are you going to be good over here as a franchise player in Dolphin? Like, you're like that. They go through that whole progress too, that whole process too, but they still make the commitment to go, right? So
yeah, and the other thing is like you can't control all the different variables that come with the job. Like you
right,
could be at a company and have the greatest experience ever, but someone else that came to the company might have a terrible experience depending on the job they had, the clients they had, the sub, the team. Like, man,
you're
so many
right.
variables.
I mean, think of Shaquan Barkley. That's a perfect example.
Oh yeah, you're really
Super
trying to break my
talented.
heart right now because I'm a Giants fan.
I know. I love. Listen, like when I came here, when I was from Jamaica, I came from Jamaica. When I came here, that's the year the Giants won, right?
Yeah,
And it's just
the
like it's
sec the 2011 one or the 2007.
2011,
Okay,
2011,
okay.
2011. This is the first year I was here, and it was just a parade. It was great. So like, I love the Giants, but you know, Shaquan, we should have held on to him. We
Oh
should have
yeah,
fought. We should have fought like hell to hold on to him,
oh yeah.
and we didn't fight like hell to hold on to him. And now he goes to a different team that understands his worth more than we did at the time. Shame on us for that, right? He has a good system around him. He has a good team, personnel who are committed to his success. And it's not just you. It's not just like a running back by himself is not going to be great, but a running back with a good offensive lineman, a good offensive line, they create holes for you, and so you can show your opportunity, right? If the offensive line is crumbling on top of you, then you can't really produce, right? And so that's the same thing as a PM. Like, if the operations around you, your accounting isn't well, is legal not good, like you just cannot do what you need to do. So you ended up at Sherman, and what project were you there at the first one? Like, were you there as an AP
Yeah.
or a PM?
So I was an APM, and the first job I was on was Riverdale Athletic Center and Natatorium Aquatic Center on their campus in the Bronx, the
Okay,
private
nice.
school. So I spent 2 years there working on those two projects. One was out of the ground, and one was a renovation. Um,
What trades were you managing at the time on that project?
so as an APM, I was kind of just managing all the submittals and
You're
stuff.
helping. Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have any specific trades. I kind of owned everything.
Makes sense.
And at the time, I had a person that had just gotten promoted who was kind of new to New York
Right.
and was kind of a golden child at the company at the time. Like he was being prepped for some great things to happen,
Hmm.
but didn't spend a lot of time working in New York and had, maybe better qualifications than me. But at the same time, it was like hadn't really worked on a job that big,
Got it.
or dealt with like that New York
I get
construction
you.
lifestyle, like the
Speed.
communication style and those things, right? Like didn't have those soft skills to
Hmm.
be able to get through some of those things that you deal with as a PM in New York. And I think I filled a lot of those gaps for him because I'm like, this is kind of how we have to go about this and how we talk to this person, how we get what we're trying to get out of the situation. I think there was a lot of strategy on coming from me as an APM managing up to my PM at the time. He would agree. But I think I owned a little bit of everything. And when I got to Shaman, I noticed that people were good. I was like, I gotta get my game up because these guys are
Mhm.
very good.
Well, you know what? You come with innate knowledge that someone else who just started as a PM, you technically you're an APM, but you weren't an APM. You understand? Because you're a PM before somewhere else. You came in as an APM. You have PM experience somewhere else. You have construction experience just throughout being, the nature of who you are and where you worked, your family being in the business. So, like when I went to civil engineering school, right, there were kids who would get their GPA was like 3.9, but his
Mm-hmm.
dad's an engineer and his granddad's an engineer. He just has innate knowledge from being around it for so long. My start in engineering started 4 years ago. His start started when he was a kid, seeing his dad draw certain things. His granddad, and his dad discussing certain things. So you kind of get like a feel of problems long before someone got there. So for you, especially, and you were bred in the hellfire because it's New York. It's the hardest construction industry, right? So you already grew up in that fire and that heat and that pressure in New York. So by
Yeah.
the time you got to Shermont, you already had like a breadth of knowledge. Even though title wise it may say APM, skill set wise, you're a PM, at that point.
Yeah, I think the way I looked at it is like a lot of the guys that I was competing with or that I worked with were, they were very book smart,
Mm.
very educated people, but the street smart, common sense aspect of this business, it's a big part of it. You have to have that stuff to kind of be able to communicate effectively. You can't just throw the book at everybody.
Yeah, so
So
it kind of walked me through that because as a PM, I know what you mean by that, 100%. Growing up in Jamaica, I grew up always advocating or moderating two different sides, right? And so, I know what you mean by that. But what do you think as a young PM, as a young APM, are the soft skills you need to really progress in this business, especially in New York?
I think you need to spend time getting to know people.
Mm,
You need to know your subs. You need to know what makes them tick, what they care about. They need to know you care about them, right? So that when you have a problem, it's not like, oh, this person's out to get me. It's, well, this is a problem. We got to solve it. But like, you're on their side, right? For as much as you can be. Um, I think now people don't pick up the phone anymore. I think people send emails. Everything is automated. And I think people think the job is done once the email is sent. And I think what I tell my team is pound the phone. Like if you want something to happen, pound the phone. Start picking the phone up, talking to people, and getting what you want or getting what you need out of them because they're not going to move as quickly as you want through an email. I'm sorry.
that is profound knowledge there. As a young APM, I would send in emails and then I'll talk to my exec and he would say the same. He's like, "Did you call the guy?" Literally, that's what the first question. He's like,
Yeah.
"Did you call the guy?" I was like, "No, I sent an email." He's like, "Call, get on the phone, Ramon. Call the guy." Right? Like the email is to back you up, but get on the phone and call the guy and hear what he has to say, right? And then I'll call the guy and it'll get done. So like having that guidance early in your career, like yeah, it's great. Emails are great, nice for documenting, nice for CYA, make everyone's on the same page transparency wise. But you want to get something done, pick the phone up and give the guy a call. There's so much
Yes.
lost in email. Like he doesn't know your tone. He doesn't know how urgent it is because you wrote an email, but you can hear it in your voice, right? You can pick up subtle things that the person is working on or not working on when you're on the phone. So that's a great advice. I think
These guys get the same email from every other person every day, right?
every
Like,
day. So you said you owned that Submittal R5 process, and
yeah.
early in my career, that's what I did too. It was Constructware. So, what insights did you gather from honing and managing the R5 Submittal process?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. So like yeah, I mean when I did submittals in R5, like because that was my job, I made sure it was perfect. The logs were perfect, the dates are everything is perfect.
Yep.
That if you ask me a question, I have the answer, right? I never wanted to be asked a question and not have the answer. And I think as an APM, like when I became a PM, the moment it clicked was when I connected the paperwork to the stuff happening on site,
Oh yeah.
right? Like the schedule, right? Where are my door frames, right? These questions that get asked, right? Making those connections. I call it seeing the Matrix. You ever see
Yep.
the movie The
Yep.
Matrix?
Yep.
You know when Keanu Reeves becomes the one? This is what I
Yes.
tell all the people that I manage. I'm like, when I became a PM, it's when I made that connection between the paperwork and the
Yes.
work, right?
Yes.
The submittal and the schedule, right? When is it getting here, right? I mean, that to me, like I was pushing paper early in my career, but I didn't know what the purpose of it was. And I think what I tell people is like, ask the question of what's the point of the fire stopping submittal? Like,
Yeah.
why did we submit that? Because we need it for our work. It needs to get inspected. The inspector wants to see the approved submittal. Like, there's a reason all this stuff is being submitted. It's not just paperwork that we're pushing. There's a purpose. It's actually, as an APM, you're the key. You hold all the cards, because if you're not doing your job, everybody suffers.
Everybody suffers. People don't realize, man. I'm telling you. So I started as an APM, and the first thing I started on was RFIs and submittals for all the project managers. I literally was like an information manager at that point. Everything came through me, everything came out me, right? And if it was electrical down to tiling, I knew where it was, right? So all the superintendents come to you, all the PMs end up coming to you, and then you get a chance to walk the site, like, hey, let me see what I submitted for you guys, so I can see what happens. And then I started going to the supers meetings, and then just go to the PM meetings. And I
Mm-hmm.
started picking up, like you say, you see behind the matrix, the super is pushing the job, and he's like, it's not approved yet. And it's like, this needs no, you're in the design meetings. I'm like, I need that submittal because this guy's about to do this work. And they're completely lost. They don't even know how important the submittal approval is needed, because now if he doesn't get it in time, you go into that gray matter that I'm gonna put in something that's not approved, and then hope for the best. You don't want to put your supers in that position. They start getting resentful to the PMs,
Oh yeah,
right? And so
100%.
as I start seeing, like you say, you start seeing the flow of how important an RFI or a submittal, guys putting in walls, but there's a sketch that came out that changed the direction of the wall. You go downstairs or you go on the site, you be like, that's not where that needs to be. Door books and hardware is the first project I had to manage. The first contractor. It's nuts. It's like all these subs are coming in this one area. You got your tile guy, your door buck guy, your security guy, your electrical,
Mm-hmm.
who owns knocking out the frame for the door contact. Can't build a CMU wall without the frame. Where is the frame? Frame came on site. Where on site is the frame? Just all these nuanced things that come out of just managing that process. So once you got to a PM now, you know you have to be a bull on your RFIs and submittals because you see how it kind of plays itself up. So
You got to
then,
be part of the process in the field with in the trenches. Like, I think a lot of PMs and APMs now, like there's a very hands off approach of the super will figure it out, or it's the super's problem to get that done. But for me, I'm like, I want to know what the problems are. I want to know what the super's problems are beyond the paper, or like the email directive. Like, what is your problem today? Oh, this guy didn't move this pipe out of the way, so now I can't get the ceiling done and close it up. There's so many things that happen on site that most people wouldn't even know about unless you asked or were there to see it.
and then it ends up becoming your PM problem because when the schedule delay and they're doing makeshift work or not phasing the work and there's hardship claims from a next sub, it ends up becoming your pain in closeout.
Yes,
You end up doing
absolutely.
you end up and the super is going the same energy you had of like it's not my problem, that's not my job. Super's gone, that's not his problem. No, you got to close the job out, good luck, right? And so it's that nuance understanding that there's a dance between all of us, between the subs, the subcontractor, the owner. That was a great analogy on that.
And
So
we're
then
driving the bus.
you're driving the bus. I always say you're the captain of the ship.
That's right.
That's your job as a PM. You are the captain of the ship. You do not need to be as technical as your engine room mechanic, but you need to listen to your engine room mechanic because if the engine's not working, you're going nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your job as a PM is when the storm is going and everyone's like, we're going to Brazil. No, we're going to England. That's what we decided. That's the track that we decided to go from
Hmm.
before this storm. We're gonna do what we need to do to get there. We have limited fuel, we have limited attention, we have limited time, and you're directing traffic. You own the job, and you need to be in the weeds with your navigator the same way you talk to your engine room mechanic, and you gotta be a people's person, or you're just gonna die on a hill by yourself. So
You're speaking my language.
I think we're on the same page with that. So it to me that signals to me why you've had such a great career growth. I mean, you're talking from estimating to APM to PM. At some point, there's a transition from PM to senior PM. Like what you manage is a little different. So kind of walk us through once you got to PM to senior PM.
Yeah, I think so. That transition, I was running my own projects before I got promoted. My own teams. I was on the Barclays Center account. I've been on that account for almost 5 years. When I got back to Shawmut, I worked on a project. Well, actually, let me rewind for a second. I went to Shawmut. I spent 2 years at Shawmut. I left
Okay.
after I went there. I went to this company called Hudson Meridian and worked on high rise for 2 years.
Okay.
And I didn't want to leave Shawmut. I left Shawmut because my team left. Um, there was a lot of changes happening. Like the company was reorganizing itself, new leadership and everything. So it was just, and I also had a kid at the time. That was a huge thing for me where like, I got to get my career going. Like,
Going.
um, so anyway, went to Hudson Meridian where a lot of my team went, spent 2 years there. I didn't really enjoy it there. Culturally, it wasn't a fit for me. But I did like working on high rise construction. It was very exciting and I loved it. I mean, it was great. But when I got through the 2 years, I kind of looked at my career and I said, I don't have a lot of projects on my resume. They're just big jobs that span a year or two.
Mm.
And I was like, I kind of want to get into something more fast paced to build up my resume. So I ended up going back to Shawmut. They left the door open for me. They said, if you ever want to come back, you're more than welcome to come back. So I took them up on that. Actually took less money to go back. That's how unhappy I was. And went back. I worked on a project that called it was Irving Plaza near Union Square, renovation of the it's like a rock and roll like historic venue,
Okay.
um, which was a great project. That was a very tough project. It was a takeover for me from another PM who was leaving. So
Those are always
tough,
tough.
tough project. It was definitely a good learning experience just going through that. And I think once that ended, I got assigned to Barclays Center. And at the time, it was like there wasn't a lot going on. Some small jobs, but I was excited because I'm from Brooklyn, and I saw them build the Barclays Center, and I would see it going up. I'd be like, man, it'd be great to work there one day, right? This is like
Right.
when I
You
was a
never
kid.
know.
So they assigned me to it. I was like, this is like exactly what I wanted coming back to Sean, something like this. So, started working on that account. We did a small retail store was the first project we did, called the Swag Shop. We did that. Project started getting bigger. We did some work at their HQ in Brooklyn, and then we did this job called the Crown Club,
Yeah.
um, which was probably one of my favorite projects I've ever done. It wasn't a huge project,
Wasn't
only
a
like a
huge
$10 million job, but it it was the most important project to the Barclays Center. It was premier club, courtside seat members. Like it was very high end. They had big admirations. They wanted to bring like a Carbone restaurant that you would see in the city. It's the same operators as Carbone into the Barclays Center. So they were spending money to make this really nice, and they did, but not a lot of planning up front. Very fast paced. I had about 22 weeks to build it. Um, so
22 weeks.
yeah, 22 weeks, and
That's an aggressive
that
start.
for me, I was at that point in my career. I was like, man, I don't know if I could do this. This is going to be tough. It was different from anything I had done.
Your lead time, you have to have everything on site and just building.
Yeah, I
22
think
weeks.
so. Some of the things we did, so we did some design assists where I got some guys early on board without bidding it out to save some time there on the procurement stuff. Had a great super on that job, pushed the crap out of that job. He really pushed it. And the job was a success. We got to the end of the job, and at that time I was having my second kid. Um, and my child was born right before the turnover. So I was out for a day at the hospital, and then we had to get gas on for the kitchen. That was the big. We had to get the gas on. Getting gas on in New York City is a nightmare.
Big, yeah.
Um, so I went back to the job the next day, and I'm there for the gas turn on, and my client's there, and he's going, "Wow, you really care about this job." I said, I'm not done until the job's done."
It's
So
done.
we
Yeah.
finished the job. Client was ecstatic. We saved money, we returned money at the end of it. But that job was just so well executed. That was like my springboard to like everything. Everything that happened after that, I think you could look at the Crown Club and go, that's kind of where it started. That
Yeah,
job.
I mean, everyone has that hallmark job that really, I would say catapult them, or they learned like what it looked like to run a really good job. I started on some dumpster fires, and then I got to certain jobs where we just had the right team. You had all the right persons committed to getting the job done, right? The super is committed, the electricians is committed. Everyone
Oh,
wants to do a good job. Everyone's pushing hard. No one's complaining. Everybody wants to win on it, and it's just those are like the dreams, man.
the
Like that's the
best.
dream team, the best, the
It's the
absolute
best.
best.
It's rare. It's rare. But if you can get that team collaboration with everybody,
Yeah,
there's so much. There's nothing you can't do.
yeah. No, it's one of those. They don't come around often, but when they do come around, you enjoy them, because there's always something that comes up on a project, and it really comes down to personality, how you address and overcome problems.
Yeah. So on that job, I had a PX at the time.
Okay.
Didn't wasn't very present, but was helpful if I needed it. I was very reluctant to ask for help unless I needed it.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of just ran that myself. I didn't have much help. I had my direct team, but not a lot of oversight. They kind of said, "Go do it," which was great. But the first thing I did when they said you're doing this job was like I did the schedule because I'm like I can't. I need to know how this thing's going to get built. Like I don't know how I'm putting it together, how we're
Yeah.
going to finish it in 22 weeks. But for me, when I'm working on a project, the first thing I do is that schedule to see like how all the pieces are going to fit. And once that's done, I could actually take a breath and go, all right, there is a way to do this.
Right.
But
What's your scheduling program of choice? P6 or a Microsoft project? What do you?
P6. I started with Project and then I went to P6. The company kind of made everybody switch over to P6. I was reluctant to do that, but since doing it, it's been the best thing ever because
It's solid. It's a
it's
great
a
program.
very rigid program. It doesn't lie to you.
It does not.
Microsoft Project, you can mess around with that thing and
You
the
give it
dates
to
get
you.
all wacky on you and stuff. But like
Yeah.
P6 is very honest.
Yeah.
So
That's the truth.
I love
Oh,
it.
so once you finished your PM, and like, did you ask to become a senior PM? Like, what was that process to become a senior PM?
No. So yeah, I did that job and then did some other, did some more jobs after that.
Yeah.
And I think I just kind of on my projects didn't have a lot of PX oversight, and I really was just owning everything. So I think over time they were kind of like, I think we got to promote this guy. And then also, um, I was I was getting a lot of offers, uh, and I actually accepted an offer, um, but ended up turning it down because Sean had countered, and they really made a big effort to keep me.
Mm,
And that said a lot to me. That said, like, wow, this company's very invested in me. Um, and I'm because I didn't think they would match the offer, to be
gotcha.
honest. And I just didn't think it was gonna. It was a lot of money at the time for me, so I was it was hard for me to say no.
Yeah.
And the guy offering it was someone I knew from the business and knew me, and it just seemed like a good fit. But glad I didn't make the move. I'm glad I stayed, and I'm glad they countered. But
Same.
at that time, that's kind of when the I guess the promotion thing started for me. Was when I
Gotcha.
was like looking to make a move. It wasn't really because of the title. I was happy with what I was doing,
Right.
but it was just like a good opportunity financially for me. So I agreed, and then I disagreed, and then I
I
went
mean, it
back.
happens, man. It's like I said. I think what we do as PMs, PXs, I really consider corporate America as you're an intellectual athlete, and there's certain skill sets you got to build up as an athlete, and certain as you develop yourself as that athlete. For us, it's negotiation, people management, resource management. These are the skill sets. It's not a shake and bake or go route, but it's similar where you start off not having skill to having that skill, and once you've developed that skill, you're going to be sought after for that skill because not everyone has it, right? Not everyone has the emotional intelligence that you're going to have to guide a team. You know, they'll burn the team at the fringes, nothing will get done, resources are spent, and the job's not finished. So once you can show that you have that, and you have a proven track record of executing, you're going to be sought after. No, then it comes down to like similar to like a LeBron, like what do you want to negotiate for your terms and conditions as a person? Like I always said, advocate for Rum on Parchment LLC. I'm a business. I provide good service. I deserve good pay based on the service I provide. I'm not going to ask you for something that I won't provide above and beyond it. But it comes at a price. You don't go to Mercedes and try and negotiate them down to a Camry. It's not a Camry. It's a Mercedes, So,
Yeah.
but so you kind of like once you start, you get to that point. But if you do accept it, you got to deliver. You have to be a person who can get the job done. You know,
Yeah, the target on your back gets bigger the higher you go up in the business. So I mean,
and
but
yeah, and your decisions carry more weight.
oh, they carry more weight. The stakes are higher. I think the other part of getting the promotion was like I had the person running Shawman at the time. The director was he championed me a lot and really believed in me.
Mm.
Um, and that's the kind of guy I love working for because he gave me the tools I needed and trusted me and I executed and he rewarded me. So it was a great relationship in that regard. But it's important to have somebody like supporting you as well. That's very important.
Yeah, you definitely need a rabbi. You need somebody who's talking about you well in rooms that you're
Hmm.
not in and opening those doors for you to come through. So I had a really good exec for many years when I was at Tishman, and he would just let you, if you wanted it, you can get it. You get a stretch assignment, something you're going to have to grow into, but he wasn't going to let you not get it. I went to Minnesota on his behalf. He came to me one day and he's like, "Listen, I have a project. It's not in New York. I need you to go to Minnesota and work with a project director out there to build a data center." I said, "All right, sign me up. But here are some terms I want. I need you to carry my car out there because I'm gonna end up renting a car. It's gonna cost you more money if I do a long term rental. The only thing I ask is I'm gonna carry my car out there. You cover that cost, and it's gonna be cheaper for you because my car payment is like 320. Done. Also need a raise. Done. No problem. All right. So when you gonna see it started? And I was out there for 2.5 years, and I learned
Wow.
so much being on that project. I delivered so much on that project. I met so many great trades. Like I'm coming from New York. I'm coming with this New York energy. We're gonna kill it. And they're great tradesmen out in Minnesota. They're great
Oh,
electricians.
I bet.
And not only that, but it's like some of the things you deal with in New York, I just never had to deal with. So, for instance, guys could leave their tool belt exactly where it is when they finish working, and they'll come back the same day, next day, and the tool belt will be there with all their tools. No one locked a gang box. Tools just never
Hmm.
disappeared. It was just like that's that guy's things. I'm gonna respect his things. There's no need to touch any of this. I had electricians cleaning up. When do you ever see an electrician clean up?
None of those are New York things.
Right? It's just like so. It was a breath of fresh air. We built the job. It was great. Um, I definitely think in New York we push the schedule hard. There's a lot of we push hard. We push real hard in New York.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's why we build the way we build. There's big money, there's big costs associated with it. There's big risk. You always feel like the government agencies are out to get you when you're on a big job. So you want to be in and out as fast as you can, right? You do
Oh
what you need
yeah.
to do, you do it safe. But the longer you stick around hanging out is the more you invite trouble. And that's not the case outside of New York. You don't have that level of pressure in that regard. You still do a
Yep.
good job, you still build, but New York is a different animal altogether. So then it was you've been a senior project manager. You manage what's like one of your most noteworthy project you were managing as a senior project
As a senior PM, it was the job we did at City Field.
Mm.
That was probably the toughest job I ever did.
Yeah.
We started the job, the drawings weren't done. Similar schedule as the Crown Club, 22 to 24 weeks. Um, Super challenging. And at the time there was a bunch of work going on in the stadium. We had two separate projects that we were doing.
Yeah.
We started in October, November. We turned over in April, early April, like the first week, right before opening day. And there was two other jobs at the stadium that we were doing. The GC managing them tapped out, said I can't do them,
Mm.
and the Mets asked Shawmut if they can take on that work in December, and we had to finish in April.
That's tough.
And I'm already dealing with my jobs, which had we had the job I was doing. We were shifting the outfield fence into the warning track, and we had to build like a foundation for it, drive piles, and do all this crazy. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, you want to do this in 22 weeks? I don't even have a drawing. So I was dealing with that. They asked us to do these other two jobs. I went back to Sean, and I'm like, we can't say no to this. Someone's going to do this. So I said, we got to do it. They gave me some, and I said, this is what I need to do it. These are the people I need. They gave me the team I needed. And we took those jobs on, and it was a crash landing because of how the job was started. But man, I'm very proud of that team. We were all together for opening day. We were there. Some of the people were crying, right? That's how happy they were. Like, it was a very rewarding experience. Another time I would say collaboration was at an all-time high with the team. Just and the level of effort that I got from my team on that job,
Right.
I'll never forget it. I mean, it was like these people were there day and night working like crazy to get that done, and
Yeah.
they did it.
Yeah.
They did it for the company. They did it for themselves. It was amazing.
Yeah, especially when you have like straw heavy deadlines, big milestones like a TCO, or you everyone pushes hard. Especially if you have a good team, everyone's committed to getting it. I always believe big milestones help push your job. They really
Oh
do.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You got to track those milestones and hit them.
yeah.
Yep.
Those really because people commit. People commit when they have a date. You know, the PMs
Opening
commit.
day too. You can't. The tickets are sold already. So whatever club you're building,
Because
tickets are sold.
you work in sports, and I find that sports construction is particularly tough because of those opening days, especially those like um, having the tickets already pre-sold. Was there any like liquidated damages in your guys' contract? Like if you miss the date, you guys you're liable for
The not typically. I mean, I feel like every job they're trying to get LDs on the job.
yeah,
But if you want to guarantee on something that I don't have a drawing on yet,
that's
it's
true.
very hard. You know what I mean? Like, and I think if the jobs are starting quick and there's not a lot of pre-con, typically we see the jobs as like cost plus, right?
Gotcha.
Because it's like it's hard to guarantee a moving target. And For me, like, liquidated damages or not, like, it doesn't really change my mentality at all,
Right.
or what we're doing. Like, I know no matter what, if we don't turn over, hell's gonna break loose. Like, we have to be done
Right.
on time.
Yeah.
And we're also up against like the arena, and they have programming and operations people that need to get trained,
Yep.
and they want to know when they can train. And I'm like, we're setting tile, we're setting millwork, we're plugging things. Like, we're not ready.
Yeah.
So we got to be creative on how that all happens. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
very
I'm doing a
challenging.
sports doing a sports facility right now, and definitely everyone's excited. Everybody wants it to be done so they can use the facility like yesterday.
Oh yeah, and most of them don't know what's going into the project. Like, they don't know how it came together, what the process
Right.
was, what I was working with, and most of the time, the folks that are running the club or whatever it is, like,
Yeah.
they come in and they always have stuff they want to change, even after the fact. Even though they looked at everything, they still want to change things.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a lot of work coming up in Willis Point, so
Yes, there is.
there's a lot of work coming up in Willis Point. So
Yeah, a lot of development over there.
sure you're going to be over there.
I'll be
So
poking around, hopefully.
yeah, of course, everyone's poking over.
We're all poking around right now.
uh,
But yeah, lots of cool stuff happening over there for sure.
And so there's a shift from PM into exec. It's a lot different. Um,
Big
you
shift.
you don't big shift because you're not directly managing trades. No, you're managing people managing trades.
Yeah, it's
Um,
tough.
yeah. So how was that transition for you? What are like insights you learned from that transition from directly being in the fold to helping the person in the fold?
It's been an adjustment and a challenge. I've been a PX now for like 5 or 6 months, I think, but it's been a challenge. I think I have less control over the outcomes, um, which is hard sometimes. But I think I'm still working out how my management style will ultimately be. Like I'm still
Mm,
figuring things out. I question, am I too hard sometimes? Am I not hard enough? Like I have to. It's like finding that balance of
yeah.
motivating people without making them not enthused to be at work because they're
Right.
just beaten down every day. But I think whenever I'm having a problem on a job, it's like sometimes it is just picking up the phone. Sometimes it is doing that extra thing, and I think like I want to work with people that have this killer mentality, that Mamba mentality. Like you got to have it. If you don't have it, like I can't make people want something they don't want. I can try to help people get to where they're trying to go, but if you don't have the
The will.
motivation to do it, I can't. I do consider myself a motivator. Like I'm always trying to hype my team up.
Right.
Like I have one of my teams right now. The super's like, you're like a coach out here because that's how it feels. Like I feel like I'm just trying to look beyond the corner, see what's coming up, see where we might have an issue. But it's a different dynamic, and it's hard because I don't have a lot of control of the outcome. I can only put the pieces where I think they need to go, and then hope that the folks doing the execution get it done.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think I spend a lot of my time just looking at where the problems are, focusing my effort on that. And then there's other teams where they don't need a lot of my time. Right, some of my teams are killing it, and I'm checking in, I'm communicating, and I'm involved, but I'm not. I don't like the whole micromanaging thing. If you can avoid that, you should.
Hmm.
But sometimes you have to, right? Sometimes you have a situation where things aren't getting done, and you got to jump in and do what you got to do to get things done. But yeah, not fun having to do that if you ever end up in that situation. But I think I'm dealing with a little bit of everything. It's been very exciting. Um, Chasing new pursuits is exciting, and then
Yeah.
just looking at everything from a higher level. Like it's I've never looked at it that way from a business standpoint. I've always focused on just the project and the task at hand, but now I'm looking at everything globally, and it's interesting. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, because you have your operational requirements as a PX, which is like day to day check in, weekly check in with your team who's building the job, and then you have your BD, like your business development part of your business too. That
Yeah,
as a project manager, not necessarily part of your business or need to be a part of your business, but as a PX, you need to bring work in. So it's relationship management on a different scale, right? So
yeah.
definitely.
If you're an introvert, you need to make yourself extroverted for this role because you can't just hang tight and not say nothing and execute. You got to actually go out there and talk to people and rub shoulders with people and do all that stuff. That's part of the job.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. One of the things that I always figure I wanted to ask a PX who was just recently a PM. PX asks a lot of questions about the job, right? Do you find that no, you realize why your PX asks so many questions?
Yeah, I think I do. I do. I think I've had a lot of PXs that were a little more hands
Okay,
off,
got you.
and not too in the details of things. And I think I'm just different. I feel like even at my company, like I'm a different type of PX. I manage a little differently. I look at it from a PM's point of view, but also know that it's not my job to do the PM's job. But at the same time, like I know what questions I need to ask. And the worst part is when you ask a question and there's no response.
Oh yeah.
That's the worst. You don't have an answer, or you just hear silence. Like, oh, okay. But that's why we're here, right? We're here to support our teams and fill in those gaps wherever they are.
Got you, got you. And so, if you had to give, like, I know you give the phone, pick up the phone and call, but as a senior PM going into the PX level, what insights would you give to a senior PM going, because they've been around town. They know that they need to pick the phone up and call a guy.
Yes.
But no, there's a difference. The same way there's a gap from APM to PM, from PM to senior PM, the gap isn't that big. It's really the same role with more things to do, more jobs
Mm-hmm.
to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the jump from senior PM to PX is a completely different jump in what you do
Yeah.
and how you operate. So, what insights would you give to a senior PM trying to look to get to that next level?
Yeah. I think, again, a lot of it is based on your circumstances, right? So, like for me, I've been on one account for 5 years. It's been a constant, and my goal throughout the entire process, even as a PM, and you could be any level, right? But client
Right.
service is the most important thing to me, right? And I focus on that. And no matter what account you're on, um, if you focus on that and make an impact with your clients, that will turn into repeat business. That will turn into a relationship, and establishing these relationships with people and building that reputation off of like being trustworthy and reliable. Eventually, that combined with not needing any real help above you to run your jobs, right? You have complete ownership of your account, your project, whatever the case may be. If you have that and you're consistently executing, um, and developing those relationships with your clients, because at the end of the day, you're executing the work. They're dealing with the PM team the most. I mean, the PXs are involved, but you're the day to day, right? So, um, I think just working on delivering a good product and making the client happy will will get you to where you need to go, because that if you keep doing that and you build your reputation, you can parlay that into the next chapter, right? But you got to start by executing on what it is you're doing, and having the clients go back to your company and going, I don't want to work with anyone else but this person from your company, right? Standing out, um, and just being a high performer. Like I don't know what else to say. You've got to put the work in, and you're competing against people in the same position as you. How do you make an impact? I mean, the clients are the ones that are going to help you make that impact. Like the clients I've had have been very good as far as the feedback, and I appreciate that. But I don't know that I would be where I'm at without that feedback that I've gotten from them.
What feedback you think your clients gave you that helped you in that way? Like, what feedback you felt like
Well,
was
they'll send notes to my bosses and say, but this is going back to when I was a PM. Like
PM, right?
everything, your team did a great job.
Got
We
you,
love
got you.
Julian. We'd love to have him on another project. Like
That's
you
right.
keep doing that, you get to this point where the client only wants to work with you, right? Like that. How do you get to that point?
Right.
At a certain point, if you're doing that, your company's going to say, what do we do with this guy now? Because he's making all of our clients happy. And as a
Right.
PX, that's kind of your job. So like, yeah, I think
Yes.
it's like focusing on your clients. Like you got to, it's client service. That's for me the most important thing.
I think that's the gem right there. And between, like you said, picking up the phone for an APM and focusing on your clients for a senior PM, making sure they're happy, those two, you're well on your way to getting where you need to go. So no, I appreciate you, Julian. Julian, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Your insight, what you've done in your career, what you've done for Sherman, and being completely honest of all the different uh, avenues. Some persons would never leave and then come back. Some people don't, but it doesn't mean that you go somewhere you can't come back, right? And you left in a way that people felt your presence, and they wanted you back on the team. Something about what you do and how you approach the business, how you approach getting the job done, that people want to keep working with you. So thank you for the time on coming on the podcast.
Don't ever burn a bridge.
It's all right.
You never know.
Keep safe,
Thank you
man.
very much, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.